Alright, what's poppin', people? Your man Zeus is bringing you guys a mid to high range build. So I showed you guys the cheap build, and sorry if you guys hear that fan noise. Oh my god, that's from my laptop. It's rendering the first video, but I showed you guys the cheap build, which was the AMD processor with the AMD 6870 GPU. Now I'm going to show you guys the mid-range build, which is what I have, and it's a great PC for the money. You're going to be able to play all the games that you want, no problem. You're going to be able to play Crysis 2, Battlefield 3, maybe not on the highest settings, but you'll be able to play at high settings. So, to start off, we're going to go with this build, or not this build, let's move down. Second generation PCs. They have the Intel 2500K, 8 gigabytes of RAM, the 560 is Asus Z68 board, perfect. We'll go with this one. Now, don't be intimidated by the price. $1,000, you're definitely going to be able to build this for much cheaper, which is what I recommend. So what you guys should do is build this PC yourself, buy the parts online, similar to the parts that I'm showing you guys right now. I'll show you guys each and every part. Buy similar ones and build it yourself. You're going to save tons of money on this build. I believe $150 to $250 on this build, maybe even 300 bucks. We'll see at the end how much it turns out to be, because I have a similar build and I paid around $850 to $900, I'm not sure, for a really great build. So first of all, this is a great case that they gave you. You could go with a cheaper case, up to you, but I really recommend this case. It's a great case. Cooler Master Half 912, great case. Moving on, the processor. They give you the greatest processor for the money right now. The best processor you can get for $200 right now is the Intel Core i5 2500K. It's amazing. That's a processor I have. You can overclock the hell out of that. And yeah, so moving on to the cooler. If you want to overclock, you can get a lot more performance from your processor. What you want to go with is get one of these more expensive, stronger, better, more performance coolers for your CPU. The one I went with over here is the Cooler Master Hyper Evo 212. It's a great cooler, but if you're going to want something a little better, yeah, you're going to want something a little better if you want to overclock more than I did. I ended up taking off my overclock since I had problems with heat, and I just had a lot of problems. So what you're going to want to go with is the Corsair H60, which is a great cooler, and I need to figure out how to overclock, man. I screwed up all the voltages. I just don't know how to do it. I need to research a bit and then do it later on. But the motherboard that they give you guys is great. The Asus P8 Z68V LX Intel Z68 motherboard. I actually wanted to get this motherboard, not this one, but the V version, not the LX, because LX basically means that there's no SLI. You can't run two NVIDIA graphics card at the same time on this motherboard, but you can still run two AMD GPUs at the same time in crossfire mode. So moving on, this is a great motherboard, by the way. Don't worry about it. If you plan on running two NVIDIA graphics cards together, don't get that motherboard. Get the P8 Z68V Pro motherboard. But if you want to do crossfire, or you don't want to run two GPUs, you just want to have one graphics processor. You don't feel like buying two and running them in dual mode, then just go with that motherboard. It's great, it's cheap, and it's from a trusted company. So they give you 8 gigabytes of RAM, really great RAM, 1600 megahertz, awesome. If you want to go for Corsair memory or Kingston, go ahead, but it's not a big deal. I think you should be fine with this memory that they give you. Save some money. Moving on to a graphics processor. The processor I have and the processor I recommend is the GTX 560 Ti. Now this one is going to be $41 more. I really suggest you get the superclocked version, which is over here at the bottom. Press EVGA superclocked. This is going to make what they're basically going to do is that you're going to get your graphics card already overclocked, so you don't have to overclock it by yourself. It's overclocked from the factory, and they have a really good heatsink and cooler on there, so you don't have to worry about messing with that. It's going to be a great graphics processor. That's what I have. Moving on, if you want to get an AMD graphics card, go with the AMD 6950. It's a great graphics card. If you want, you can go with this HIS turbo version, but it's all up to you. 6950 is $1 cheaper. If you want to go with the 6950, I kind of recommend that you do, because this motherboard supports Crossfire. So later on, you can just add another 6950 for 200 bucks instead of buying a whole new graphics card for 300-400, whatever, how much it's going to cost you. So I recommend the 6950 for this build, but if you want to go with the 560 Ti, which is what I have, it's also a really good graphics processor. So it's up to you. It's your choice, but I recommend both, actually. Recommend both. It's all up to you. Moving on. Okay, the power supply they give you is trash. Extreme gear, don't go with it. go with Corsair, go with Seasonic. Those are great power supplies. So the one I'm going to show you guys is the, where's the Corsair? What the? They will not let me pick a 650 watt Corsair power supply. That is bull. So what we're going to do is that we're going to pick the 850 watt Corsair power supply. Let's see. Yeah, that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with the Corsair 850 watt power supply. Corsair has great power supplies. Stick with Corsair. The Corsair 850 watt power supply is only, what, $50 more than the original one? Or $76 more? It's a lot much better, trust me guys. You're going to be able to run two 6950s on this power supply with no problem. You'll never have to upgrade for a long time. For like 5 years from now, you probably won't have to upgrade at all. It's a great power supply. So now you see the price of this thing is $1,154. It's a lot of money, guys. So what you want to do is you want to go to PCPartPicker.com, okay? This website, PCPartPicker.com, if you want to build it yourself, you're going to save a lot more money. You'll probably get that build for $850. But the one thing I recommend you don't do is do not get the 850 watt power supply unless you plan on running two graphics cards at the same time in the future in Crossfire SLI mode. If you just want to have one graphics card, go with the 650 watt Corsair power supply, which is the one I chose for this build. PC Part Picker is essentially a website that you can choose all the parts that you want, and he'll show you the cheapest prices you can get them online. Over here it shows you the cheapest place you can get it, and you buy it, and it'll show you the price of your total build. So the build that I have with the Core i5-2500K so far is $687, but I want to change a few things. I want to change this over here, this graphics card. So real quick, I want to show you guys what I already have. I have a 2500K, the Cooler Master Hyper 212. We have a Gigabyte motherboard. It's a great motherboard. I'm not sure what this supports, if it supports Crossfire or SLI. I have a feeling that it only supports Crossfire. Most cheaper motherboards support Crossfire and don't support SLI, and I don't know why, but this thing is taking too long to load. So what I'm going to do is just going to show you this, and what I recommend you do is instead of getting the 550 Ti, you should get the AMD Radeon 6950 or the GTX 560 Ti graphics card. If you want to get a 750 watt Corsair or 850 watt Corsair power supply, get it. It's up to you. But that's about it, guys. This build will probably end up being around $800 with the better graphics card and maybe essentially a better power supply. If you'd like to have a better power supply, or if you'd like a better motherboard, I suggest getting the Asus P8Z68V motherboard or the LX version like we saw on this website. That will save you a lot of money too. So get the P8Z68V LX motherboard if you want from Asus instead of this one. It's up to you. There's a lot of options out there, but the build that I show you over here is pretty much what you're going to want. Get similar components, but an 850 watt power supply is a lot. As you see over here, they suggest 700 watts, but I think 650 watts will be more than enough for this build. So that will save you another $50. So this build should probably cost you around $850. I hope you guys benefit from this video. If you didn't, leave a comment. I'll try to help you out. But other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.